Hello, welcome to our podcast. Thanks for listening. This is EJMJ Squared.
I'm EJ.
I'm MJ.
I'm MJ too, but you can call me Melody. Today for our podcast, we're going to be talking about different things about the camp that we work at and hot takes and just some random stuff. So let's get started. So MJ wants to start us off with a little bit of conversation on what it's like to work at a camp when you can't eat dairy. MJ, take it away.
The funny thing about not being able to eat dairy is it's quite literally in every single meal. Today for lunch, I was in fact not there, but I do know for a fact that we had mac and cheese and corn dogs. Yeah. Pizza day is especially entertaining. You get bread with red sauce on it. Sometimes pepperoni if you wait patiently. Lasagna night is a great day. The yogurt bar at breakfast. I love that place.
EJ, do you have an allergy experience at camp that affects you?
So, for those of you who don't know, I'm slightly allergic to fruit. And every single morning, so for lunch and dinner, there's a salad bar. And for breakfast, there's a yogurt bar with different fruit options. Well, for me, that's very tempting because I haven't been allergic to fruit my whole life. So I know what fruit tastes like, and it's very delicious. Well, depending on the fruit. Some fruit's just trash, like cantaloupe. But then you got fruit like strawberries and watermelon and pineapple that just all look so good. And then every morning, there it is. So most of the time, I just skip breakfast.
So the yogurt bar is like pick your poison, literally.
Quite literally pick your poison.
I also have an allergy at camp that affects me. I can't eat pork. It's actually not an allergy because I don't die. It just makes me really uncomfortable and sick for like the rest of the year.
I don't feel as though EJ is missing out that much, only because I think the strawberries at camp are very good. And I feel like strawberries look like they should taste significantly better. I feel like you look at a strawberry and you're like, this is going to be the best thing ever.
Well, I do love strawberries, but I'm like the pickiest eater when it comes to strawberries. Like, it has to be the perfect strawberry. One single little tiny dark spot, I'm not eating that strawberry. But I think the best fruit, and which so happens to be the one I'm the most allergic to, pineapple. Pineapple's fire, but it also makes me like stop breathing and hives. Not a good time, but pineapple is fire.
Melody, what is your favorite fruit?
I feel like my favorite fruit has always been grapes. I feel like they're a very accessible fruit, although I'm very like picky about them though, because like I hate it when they're like really soft and like squishy, like mushy almost. Not a big fruit gal. EJ, I just want to know your perspective. What's it like doing one summer in a hot trailer the entire time and then moving to the Lookout, which is a little bit isolated from the rest of camp?
So there was perks to both, okay? The trailer, I don't have to hike to get home. You know what I mean? I hike up to the Lookout now and I'm winded. I have to take a break and sit down when I get into my house. But that is very true that the Lookout is a little bit nicer, like facilities-wise. We have a bathroom door that shuts all the way, whereas the Lookout, there's a little crevice that you can peek through if you really wanted to. There's an actual working toilet. You don't have to like drain a tank, which was horrible last summer because we had Paul clog the thing because he opened it and never shut it, so it just backed up. Anyways, nightmare scenario down there.
I want to know from both of you. Actually, we also have a guest here today. Her name is Kaylin, and she is also a worker at camp, so she's going to be answering this question too. I want to know from each of you, what is your favorite turnaround supply, and what is your least favorite turnaround supply, and why for each of them?
My favorite and my least favorite, because I definitely know my least favorite. It's the blue shower sponge that gets the hair from everywhere stuck in it, and I love the little clumps of hair that just look like mice poop I just carry them around with me all day. My favorite is definitely has to be the toothbrush. She does her job very well, and if Patty ever wants to have a conversation about the toothbrush, I'm willing. I'm available.
So I agree with your least favorite, like that blue thing, whatever you want to call it. That thing sucks. It just leaves more hair than it picks up, I feel like, after the first shower. But my actual least favorite is the vacuum. Those things, at least the vacuums at our camp, are garbage. The vacuums just don't work. You could go slow motion through the whole cabin. That's my least favorite just because it doesn't work, and it's not my fault, but the vacuums don't work. It's not my fault. I think my favorite, I would probably say the yellow spray, which sounds like generic, but I have a reasoning for it. Yellow spray is great for when your partner is giving you too much sass and you just want to shoot them with it. It's not like a chemical that's going to hurt them. It's just like germ killer. So you spray that on someone and they're cleaner. Yellow spray favorite, vacuum least favorite.
Okay, so for me, I feel like my least favorite is probably just like the actual turnaround rags themselves, because I can't stand when I am cleaning a toilet and like the toilet is getting dirty because the rag is shredding itself on the toilet, like, and I literally can't get it clean because I'll wipe it and then there's like 5 like little pills from whatever color, it's like a blue cloth and it's all over the toilet, and then they're like, what is this junk? And I'm like, I swear I just cleaned that. So probably those turnaround rags drive me absolutely insane. My favorite has got to be the blue gloves. Those things make me absolutely invincible to any grime, because I feel like if there's something on the toilet, I can just wipe it off with my finger. Or like if there's something in the shower, like when you're cleaning it and you like scoop all the hair and the dirt into the bottom of the drain, that is so satisfying, like when it's gone. So those gloves are like the shield of turnaround.
Okay, my least favorite turnaround supply is the mop because it gets so wet and nasty that it falls off of the mop head, and then you have to literally touch it to put it back on, and like that thing's nasty. It's wiping grimy cabin floors. I cannot touch anything with those blue gloves. They are like so bulky, and so hot take, I don't like the blue gloves, but I do wear them because that's really gross.
Kaylin, are you trying to fight right now?
My favorite, it has to be a tie between blue spray. I love wiping a mirror in a window. Like there's something so satisfying about it. But with a paper towel any day, not a turn-on rag, because I stand with what Melody said. Also, sorry, Elijah James, but I love vacuuming. Specifically the vacuum we used yesterday during turnaround. It was just a really good one. So, yeah.
Okay, so up next, I'm just going to ask, we've all run the hub at one time or another. It's definitely an interesting experience, but I just want to know from each of your perspectives, what is the most overrated hub snack and what is the most underrated hub snack? Who wants to start?
So I'm actually like a really big fan of Otter Pops, but like these kids love them. They're so overrated. Like there's so many other things in the hub that you could be buying. And the most underrated item has to be, I don't like Twinkies, but I feel like people don't appreciate them enough.
People, including you yourself, don't appreciate them enough.
Exactly.
I think the most overrated hub snack, this is actually a drink, are those little Starbucks Frappuccino things. Those are literally, first of all, disgusting. As a lover of coffee and of caffeine, those are extremely disappointing. Processed was a flavor. That's what they taste like. And so every time a kid comes up and he just wants to get like crazy on caffeine, I'm like, bro, get a Dr. Pepper. It's a better choice. I think the most underrated hub snack, Butterfinger. I love like the flakiness and the texture of them, and like nobody ever gets them. I didn't know that they existed until a few weeks ago, and I've been here for over a year now.
So I'm going to concur with Melody over here on the overrated being the Starbucks. I don't like coffee in general, so I wouldn't buy one. First off, that's the most expensive thing on the entire menu. I don't know if you know that. They're still like the most popular thing that we have. It's just concerning that when these like 10-year-old kids are coming up asking for Starbucks mochas, I'm pretty sure they want to fit in. It's like a mindset thing, like I need coffee, I need Starbucks, whatever, and they just buy it to fit in. I think my underrated, I just think the most bang for your buck, I agree with Melody that the candy bars are pretty good, but I think bang for your buck, the Airheads. They're cheap and they're good. Like, who dislikes Airheads? They are popular, so I don't know if they're that underrated, but I feel like they could be more popular. That's my take.
So something we've been out of stock for almost all summer is the Sour Punch straws. And when I was running the hub, I think like about every other kid ordered these Sour Punch straws. And I don't know, when I eat them, I feel like it makes my teeth hurt because of how sweet it is. And I just feel like the sugar to like actual edibleness of like this food is just completely off. As for underrated items, I think probably the candy bars, and I think the one that once kids found out existed went like not as crazy as I thought it was going to be was the 100 grand. And I feel like when I was introduced to those when I was in middle school, I was like going bonkers. Way back when I could eat 100 grands.
So for this question, I just want to know like what is the most either disturbing or weird thing you've ever encountered while doing turnaround?
This was actually yesterday when I experienced this. I was cleaning the women's bathroom in Meadowview, and the second squirrel of the day, walks into Meadowview, just strolls on in, and comes into the bathroom where I'm cleaning. And one of my coworkers, for personal reasons, we'll call him Jay. Jay screams, and he's like, MJ, look out. Literally 3 feet away from me is our camp squirrel. And I scream. I walk back into the stall and I slam the door in the squirrel's face as if the stall isn't 2 feet above the ground and it could definitely just crawl underneath. But I did have to clean the toilet again because I hopped on top of it. And Jay ended up tracing the squirrel out again because he also did the first time it came in. It was just a very terrifying experience and I did not enjoy it at all.
So I have 2 that come to mind. The one wasn't technically during turnaround, but it was when I was host and I was cleaning a bathroom. Women's bathroom, let me start off by saying women's bathrooms are always worse than men's bathrooms. First night, I walk into the men's bathroom, and I found what I've been told is called a poopsicle. For those of you who don't know what that is, it is poop with popsicle sticks stuck into it so that it cannot flush down the toilet. And I had to take the popsicle sticks out by hand. That's the first story. Literally the next day, I'm cleaning Meadowview bathrooms again, and I walk into the women's bathroom, and stuck to the wall was a used women's feminine product stuck to the wall that I had to clean off myself. So those are 2 gross. Those weren't technically during turnaround. So the worst turnaround experience I've ever had by far was last year. We had a high school football team come. They would stay on camp. They would eat meals here and sleep here, but they would practice in town at Payson High School, I think it was. And so naturally, once they got done with practice, they go to their room and shower and everything, but they're sweaty, filthy high school boys. So I walked into that cabin after they had left, and the smell that came from inside was the grossest thing I have ever smelled, probably in my entire life. So first I had to clean with my shirt over my mouth the entire time just to stop myself from gagging. And then afterwards, we could not get the smell to go away. So we had to buy the plug-in smell things and spray the whole room. We sprayed it so it smelled somewhat better. I don't think it actually helped, but we told ourselves it helped. The stench was unbearable. And we also found a jock strap. So good times all around.
Okay. One of mine was also during a hosting shift for a restroom check, not actually turnaround. This is definitely the worst of the 2. Meadowview can be a deep, dark place sometimes. Those bathrooms, let me tell you. It was 7 a.m. and I was just doing my restroom checks as one does. And I went into the men's restroom and found a piece of poop in the urinal. And I had to clean it out. So that was not during turnaround, but it was pretty traumatizing. Probably the worst thing I've ever come across in turnaround, which honestly, compared to the other stories I've heard so far, not that bad. One time I walked into the restroom of a guy's cabin after they had left, and there was just puddles of water all over the floor, and there was 5 pairs of men's underwear soaked on the floor, and it just smelled so mildewy and moldy in there. I can't explain it. So that's probably the most disturbing thing I've ever come across while I was cleaning.
Okay, last summer, me and my friend Christian walk into Golden Oak. And here's the thing. If you know turnaround, you know that you always do a walkthrough of the cabin before you start anything. So we do a walkthrough. And we get to the first toilet, and it says something broken, do not use. And we're like, okay. We open the toilet, and there is a literal log with corn in it. And it was so disgusting. And Christian starts freaking out, and I'm pretty sure we had to get it snaked or something after that because it wasn't working. But that was the worst turnaround experience that I've had.
Okay, so for this last question, we're just going to take it to something a little bit more meaningful than finding horrifying things in cabins. I just want to ask, what is one moment or encounter that you had with someone either this week or this last week that just makes you happy that you work at camp?
So for those of you who don't know, me and Melody are 2 people that are trained to do up top on zipline. With that comes a lot of responsibility in that a lot of the kids that get up there get really scared. Some a little too scared, but that's a story for another time. But there's an amazing opportunity sometimes when kids or campers come up there and they're a little nervous and you can tell they start to shake, or you try to talk to them and they just are very short with their answers. You can tell they just don't really want to talk because they're scared. There was this one camper that was extremely terrified to go down the zip line, and this person was crying and got them to sit on the edge of the, like, up top to start to go down. And every time I would step up, they would, like, put their hands down to show, like, they clearly weren't ready to go down. But I asked this person if they would like to pray with me. They said yes, and I got a really cool experience to pray with this person. And as soon as we stopped praying, they stopped crying, and they were like, yep, I'm ready to go. And so I stood up, and they went down. They weren't scared at all. So it's just really cool to see God work in that way, that I can be the hands and feet of God and just, like, give that peace that I have, peace of mind, to these campers. It's a really cool experience. So
My experience was also on Zipline. I remember one girl in particular, like, she had watched her younger sister, like, go up and, like, come back from the zip line and was still, like, having people go in front of her so that she didn't have to go yet. So it's her turn finally, and she's, like, losing her mind. So she gets about halfway up the ladder, and she, like, looks down at me, and she's like, I don't think I can do it. And I remember telling her, you have to look up and then pray. And so, like, after I told her that, like, that was the last time she had looked down at me, and she, like, paused for, like, a solid, like, 30 seconds, and I could hear her, like, mumbling. And she goes down the zip line, and she comes back to me, and I'm, like, unloading her trolley, and I told her, I was like, I'm so proud of you for being, like, brave and going down the zip line. And I just see her, like, look up at me, and, like, there's, like, tears, like, welling in her eyes. You could tell, like, she needed to hear that in that moment. And that night at dinner, she ended up, like, seeing me, like, across the whole, like, dining room and, like, waving at me while I was, like, getting my food. So yeah.
Mine is from last summer, and it was Royal Family. On the last morning, I was hosting, and I was sitting out eating my breakfast alone, and this little boy came up and just, like, sat across from me outside. And he kind of just played, like, tough all week, very kind of hard to connect with. He sat down across from me and just, like, looked at me, and I just, like, started having a conversation with him, and I was like, how was camp? And he was like, terrible. Just kind of didn't really want to, like, engage in the fact that, like, it was good and, like, he got to experience the Lord. But, like, I just got to, like, encourage him. He, like, is so loved. Most importantly, like, the Lord loved him, and so, like, I know that like, had to, like, set in somehow. And so it was just really cool. Just, like, have that moment.
So my moment is probably from this last week. It was at a zipline session that we did. I have been doing the up top position for the last couple of weeks, and it's just been a really unique experience, just having the opportunity to comfort people when they're doing something that is, like, outside their comfort zone and, like, a risk for them. And so this last zipline session that we had, I just got to encounter a few different kids who were pretty nervous when they came up, and, like, 2 or 3 of them, when I got them on the edge and they were about to go down the zip line, they would just look at me and tell me that they couldn't do it. They say, I can't do it. I need you to let me down. And it was really hard to hear them, like, say that and worry, like, if I was going to be able to help them overcome that fear. But the scripture verse for zipline is 2 Timothy 1:7, for God does not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. So when these kids told me that they couldn't do it, I just asked them to, like, look at me instead of looking down and looking at how high they were. And I just repeated that verse to them, and I told them, you know what? God doesn't give you this fear. He, in multiple occasions in life, right now and later on, he's going to give you the courage to do the things that he wants you to do. And sometimes those things are big or even nerve-wracking, but he helps you overcome those fears. And this was, like, really impactful to me on 2 levels. One, I mean, it's extremely encouraging to be able to help these kids who were scared, and all of the kids who I said that to ended up being able to go down safely and enjoy the zip line, which was a really big deal for me. I was excited that I was able to help them in that way. But it was also impactful to me on the level that I remember being fearful and little. And so it's cool that, like, God has taken me from a place where I am no longer the one that's fearful, but I am getting to speak truth into their lives, and, like, I'm the voice of reason for them. And so it's just really cool to be that for someone else. So, yeah. All right, so that is going to be it for today. So thank you for listening to our podcast. I want to say thank you to Kaylin for coming on and just giving her input on these different silly questions, and just having a good time. So yeah, goodbye.
See ya.
Deuces, gooses.